10. Jussie Smollett. In January of 2019, famous actor Jussie Smollett walked into a Chicago police precinct and reported that he had just been the victim of a hate crime. He told the police that two strangers began shouting racial slurs. While one was just yelling at him, the other was pouring chemical bleach onto him before they both held him down and tied a rope to his neck. He claimed to have suffered severe rope burn and was physically ill from the experience. But as we all know now, this isn't exactly what happened. These so-called strangers were actually two brothers who worked with Jussie on the set of the hit series Empire, and according to inside sources, Jussie paid the brothers $3,500 each to help him stage the event, planning every single detail right down to the precinct visit. The proof that all of this was a rouse made up for publicity was the fact that the altercation conveniently took place directly in front of security cameras. An investigation took place that found ample evidence that Smollett had set himself up. They found receipts for the ropes used during the altercation left in the assailant's home and a way to hide the evidence. There was also security footage taken from a store where the brothers can be seen trying on and purchasing ski masks, gloves, and red hats. I would pay anything to see that footage. It would be so funny now. At the end of the day, Jussie was forced to serve 150 days in prison and pay the Chicago Police Department over $300,000 for wasting their time and resources. So before you all get mad about how I pronounce his name, I just want to remind you he faked a hate crime. Focus on that. 9. Kim Kardashian. The reality star can be tight-lipped about the cosmetic procedures she's undergone and has repeatedly denied plastic surgery rumors, but on a forthcoming episode of The Kardashians, she seems to make a surprising confession. In a peek at season 3 shared by her sister Khloe Kardashian on Snapchat, Kim is seen taking voice lessons. While talking to her vocal coach, the Skims founder admitted she couldn't use her neck muscles to sing because half of hers were probably Botoxed. Kim admitted to having a little bit of Botox in a 2012 Allure interview, but claims she's had no filler. She stated, "I've never filled my lips." While this may be true, back in 2010, Kardashian suffered facial bruises after getting Botox before she turned 30, an experience that was documented on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kim claims that the surgeon warned her of all the possible side effects, as they should, but because it was the first time receiving the procedure, she flipped out in front of the cameras. Since then, Kim has steered clear of any more Botox-related procedures, claiming she felt a constant burning sensation for days afterwards, being some of the most painful moments of her life. 8. Ariana Grande. Now, it should be no surprise to learn that Ariana Grande is not 100% a clean, clear cover girl. The Sam and Cat star and world-famous musician dropped some truth during her Vogue Beauty Secrets tutorial last week. Grande shared with the world that she has had a ton of Botox and lip fillers over the years, but that she was ready to go back to the way she was. For a long time, she was getting regular injections and surgeries, but according to Ariana herself, she stopped seeking those treatments in 2018. She claimed that she felt like she was hiding herself from the world and was tired of being hidden behind a fake layer of herself. She went on to say that the decision to stop was also motivated by her wishing to see her natural features again, like her smile lines. Now, she said she may get a facelift 10 years or so down the road, but compared to the invasiveness of Botox, that should be a chill Tuesday for Ariana. 7. Kanye West. In 2009, Kanye interrupted Swift during MTV's Music Video Awards as she was in the middle of an acceptance speech for Best Female Music Video. While the altercation didn't take place on camera over the next few months, the feud had become public, with Swift bashing Kanye's rude behavior during time specifically set aside for her. Kanye later apologized and things seemed to be fine until 2015, when the rapper released a song called Famous, in which he had some pretty harsh stuff in reference to Miss Swift. Taylor was very vocal about her dislike for the song and claimed that it was written to undermine her success. Kanye's then wife Kim Kardashian called Taylor out online, claiming that Taylor had approved her lyrics over the phone. Kim uploaded a Snapchat video that alleged Taylor did in fact say that Kanye can do whatever he wanted. The video included clips of Taylor that fans pointed out were edited to take her words out of context. In retaliation to this situation, many fans have claimed that several several songs from her 2017 album Reputation were made in reference to Kimye, including the line, "This is why we can't have nice things." In 2020, a full version of the video Kim posted was released, proving that she did in fact edit the footage to make it seem like Taylor was on their team. In reality, Taylor never approved jack squat. Who would have guessed that Kim Kardashian and Kanye West were big liars? 6. Belle Gibson. Belle Gibson was a famous Australian influencer who was diagnosed with a brain tumor when she was 20 years old. According to Belle, she ditched the traditional chemotherapy route and instead decided to undergo alternative treatments like oxygen therapy that somehow worked, or so her thousands of followers thought. In 2013, Belle used her story to launch a health and wellness app called The Whole Pantry. She made a public vow to donate 1/3 of her profits to charity, was able to secure a cookbook contract with acclaimed publishing company Penguin, and Apple pre-installed her iPhone app on all Apple Watches. Kinda like when U2's new album just suddenly opened on your iTunes, like, I don't remember buying this. What the heck did I do last night? Not long after her rise to fame though, she claimed that the cancer had re-emerged basically everywhere and lamented about the short time she had left with her family. But as it usually does, the truth set her free. According to media outlet Who, the app's proceeds never made it to the charity, and former friends of the blogger voiced their suspicions to the point that 2 journalists from the Sydney Morning Herald took on the case, like detectives in a movie from the 30s, like, "Don't worry sweetheart, we'll solve the case." After a fairly minimal amount of sleuth work, Gibson was forced to reveal that she had in fact faked her diagnosis for media coverage. The aftermath involved a civil suit being launched against Belle by Consumer Affairs Victoria, and a judge ruled that she may be suffering from psychological or psychiatric delusions at the time, but was in fact found guilty of misleading and deceptive conduct. That's a thing you can sue people for? I gotta make some phone calls. 5. Kylie Jenner. For years and years and years, Kylie, along with everyone else in her family, has denied the involvement of cosmetic surgery on camera. Throughout the history of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, there have been an immeasurable number of clips that will go down in the history books. Seriously, somebody should give this lady an Oscar. After a long time of not telling the truth, the internet called her bluff. Now, I've been told we can't talk about the challenge that happened a few years ago because people were actually getting hurt attempting to recreate Kylie's perfect plump lips with little no juice glasses, a painful lesson that Kylie did not intend to teach. Well, Kylie decided to let the cat out of the bag and inform her fans that she did in fact receive fillers to achieve her look. She then urged people to stop doing the challenge as it could not only leave permanent damage, but it also just made her look bad. Revealing the truth is one thing, revealing the truth because you might be in trouble, a whole other story. 4. Lori Loughlin. Who could forget the college scandal from 2019? Oh wait, you did? Well, allow me to refresh your memory. In 2019, a massive conspiracy was proven to be true when several A-list celebrities were exposed for bribing schools and their admissions to allow their kids into school. The situation had been going on for almost 10 years before justice was served. Lori, along with several celebrities like Felicity Huffman, were exposed to the media and a very public trial began. For years, these people were claiming that their kids were the best and the brightest and that they could do no wrong, when in reality, they were just scrolling on their phones waiting for mommy to drop a check off at Harvard. Over 40 individuals were eventually charged and brought to justice. High-level academic and athletic schools like Stanford University, Yale, and the University of Texas. It was revealed specifically how much the schools were making, while in Lori's case, anyone who agreed to admit their 2 daughters would receive $500,000 in one lump sum. Several students were either expelled or removed from the admissions list as a way to save face. For Lori, well, she went to prison for a few days and was made to do 250 hours of community service. Lesson learned. 3. Stephen Rannazzisi. You may recognize Steve from his role as Kevin MacArthur in the hit FX series The League, or perhaps from his many stand-up and television specials. What you may not know is that Steve's a big old liar. Steve first moved to the west coast of the United States only 1 month following the events in New York in September 2001, when he first tried to break into the comedy scene, he claims that he found it difficult to fit in with his fellow comics and would indulge in stories to get a word in conversationally. Essentially, when he introduced himself and told people he was from New York, at the time the events were fresh and everyone was curious, "Were you there when it happened?" Much like a lot of comedians, he started telling them sarcastically that he did in fact escape one of the towers before they fell, but before he could say, "Nah, just kidding, that never happened," the conversation had moved on and he was now seen as a survivor. Needless to say, his story made its way through the scene and his career seemed to be on a rise. It was only a few short years later that he would be a main cast member on The League and would go on to write and star in several TV shows and films. In 2009, Steve told Marc Maron his tall tale, even adding details like, "Yeah, I worked on the 59th floor, second tower. Man, it was tough getting out of that one. I actually broke a few bones in my hand and took weeks to heal." Not long after the public exchange, the New York Times did a little detective work and discovered that he had actually worked in Midtown Manhattan at the time, nowhere near the incident. He's apologized for the lies and realizes now that people probably would have liked him just fine without the lies. Whoa, lying to make people like you is wrong? Blows my mind. 2. Lance Armstrong. 7-time Tour de France winner Lance Armstrong has gone down in history as a man who was unable to ride a bike without chemical training wheels. In an interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2013, Lance was brought on to discuss the allegations floating around regarding his status as a Tour de France winner. Several sources claim that Lance had to take performance-enhancing substances to win each race, as well as a type of transfusion involving the red life juice that live inside all of us. Armstrong went on air and fessed up to every single thing they were claiming he had done. However, he did deny the notion that he was some kind of mastermind who would control his teammates and force them to join in his extracurricular activities. But amidst his admission of guilt, say that 10 times fast, there was a moment where he tried to pin the situation on his battle with cancer. He wraps it up by saying he should have tried harder to cancel the culture rather than create more of a problem. He was stripped of all 7 Tour de France titles and has since lived in exile among the cycling world. 1. Milli Vanilli. Taking the top spot on our list is the infamous musical duo Milli Vanilli. In 1989, the duo of Fab Morvan and Rob Pilatus were on the top of the world. A fairly unknown crew had quickly raised to number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100 list. They began performing their hit song in front of thousands of fans across the world and they were hooked. Until very shortly into their rise to fame, they were performing in front of 80,000 people at a theme park in Bristol, Connecticut. They took the stage with their well-known dance moves and started singing, but when the chorus came, it stayed, repeating over and over again on a loop. The track they had been lip-syncing to was trash and the truth was revealed. Not only did they not sing a single note of their hit song, Girl You Know It's True, but the song itself was actually stolen from another group a few years prior. Milli Vanilli were a disgrace, and what was worse is that only a few days before, they were exposed to the world that they had won an award for the tune and were forced to return them.
At number 10, we have jumping on Oprah's sofa. So when Tom Cruise was caught jumping on Oprah's sofa, it had to be one of the most arrogant incidents to ever happen in Hollywood. In 2005, in his interview with Oprah, the episode would become one of the most bizarre public displays of affection we have ever seen. Now, Tom would only appear on the show to promote his role in the film War of the Worlds. However, people would quickly forget about the film entirely, after he went on to declare his love for Katie Holmes. Tom would then be seen acting manically as he began to jump up and down on Oprah's furniture while screaming, "I'm in love, I'm in love. It's one of these things where you want to be cool, like yeah, I like her. That's how I feel." However, while the star wanted to look cool, he definitely didn't in this situation. And number 9, stunt gone wrong. So in the acting world, Tom is well known for performing his own stunts, and some of his stunts he's performed, not even a stunt devil would do the same thing. With the Mission Impossible franchise providing a wealth of opportunities for him to indulge in his inner daredevil, like the moment he clung to the outside of a plane when it took off, the film definitely took a toll on him because not only was he launched into the air tied to the outside of an airplane, however, he also had to scale the world's tallest building. However, in the 6th Mission Impossible series, Tom would actually end up performing a stunt after insisting he could do it, and he ended up breaking his ankle in the process. When the actor was meant to hit the side of the wall and pull himself up and over the edge, he made the mistake of hitting the wall with his foot, and he knew instantly his ankle was broken. If Tom didn't let his arrogance get the best of him, this whole situation could have been avoided if he just let the stunt double do his job. Hey Peaches, are you enjoying this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And number 8, Scientology video. Tom Cruise is a member of the Church of Scientology, and this has been a well-known fact known by the public for years. Although his involvement with the church has been pretty controversial over the last couple of years, many of us are surprised when the church released a promotional video onto the internet back in 2008, and it featured Tom Cruise. The 9-minute video would show Tom discussing his beliefs while the theme of his Mission Impossible films played in the background. The video format appeared to be an interview with Cruise, and it was edited so viewers couldn't hear the questions being asked, and some of Cruise's responses even ended up abruptly. His strange, intense, and strong delivery as he discussed the benefits of Scientology left us all appropriately bewildered. It was just such an arrogant moment because it's never right to preach about any type of religion anywhere, and while the star can study and believe what he wants to believe, he definitely should have known better. And number 7, the Matt Lauer interview. Another one of Tom Cruise's most arrogant moments caught on camera when he clashed with Matt Lauer on the Today Show, and the whole interview got pretty heated. In June of 2020, Brooke Shields would lash out at Cruise, who on Access Hollywood called her irresponsible for using medication to help her combat her battle with depression. Tom would sit down with Matt and he became pretty defensive. Matt then took a few moments to devote the interview to the film before diving into Tom's relationship with Katie, Scientology, and ultimately then brought up the Brooke Shields dust-up. Cruise would then go on to call Matt a glib and would go on to a rant to defend Scientology and their anti-psychiatry stance. After the interview, Tom would also later admit that his conduct in the interview came across as arrogant because honestly, it pretty much did. And number 6, the water prank. Though Tom Cruise has been given a few outrageous interviews, he probably can be excused for being a little peeved with Channel 4 during a red carpet encounter that happened in 2005 after the interviewer decided to play a prank on the actor by spraying Tom in the face with a small jet of water. Tom would then be furious and go on to say, "That's incredibly rude. I'm here giving you an interview." Tom would then continue to go on and would call the interviewer a jerk. Later, a clip of the interview would then begin to circulate online, and fans were quick to call out Tom's arrogance. After it was reported, he got police involved over the harmless incident. Channel 4 would then come out to issue an apology to Tom over the stunt. Channel 4 would come out to say the stunt was intended to be lighthearted rather than malicious, and we would like to apologize to Mr. Cruise for any offense that was caused. Number 5, we have restricted oxygen. During an appearance on the Late Night Show with David Letterman in 1999, Tom Cruise would recall the moment where he restricted oxygen for a passenger when flying to Colorado. According to Tom, he and his co-pilot, as well as a passenger, were using oxygen masks because they were flying at high altitudes. However, Tom realized that he didn't have enough oxygen to stay alert at that altitude. Him and the pilot decided to turn off the oxygen masks for the passengers so they could continue on their journey. As he continued to tell the story, he would say that the passenger passed out due to a lack of oxygen, and he found the situation pretty hilarious. The whole situation was pretty much arrogant because Tom and his co-pilot had the opportunity to go down to a lower altitude to continue their journey. Instead of disregarding the passenger's safety, just decided to care about his own well-being, which just isn't okay. And number 4, Brooke Shields feud. In 2005, Tom would criticize Brooke Shields for using medication. The whole situation would cause a major rift between the two stars. Cruise would go on to tell Access Hollywood that Brooke was irresponsible for saying in her memoir, Down Came the Rain, that she used medications to help cure her of her postpartum depression following the birth of her daughter Rowan in 2003. Brooke then would respond to Tom by saying he should stick to saving the world from aliens. Tom would later be asked about his views in another interview on the Today Show, and he got into a pretty heated argument with the interviewer. Tom would go on to say that there's no such thing as chemical imbalance and insisted that vitamins and exercise were a better way to cure depression, before going on to call the host a glib. Brooke would then go on to say that Cruz's comments were a disservice to mothers everywhere. Tom would then go over to Brooke's house to later apologize, and they seemed to recover their friendship as Brooke would attend his wedding in 2006. At number 3, 60 Minute Australia interview. In 2005, Tom was interviewed by 60 Minute Australia to talk about his Scientology beliefs and Hollywood stardom. During his interview with the journalist, Peter Overton, he would be asked a series of questions about Nicole Kidman. Eventually, Tom would feel like the questions have gone too far, in which he prompted to say, "You're overstepping your line now, you're overstepping the line, and you know you are." When Peter was asking questions the public wanted to know, Tom would then respond by saying, "Take responsibility for what you want to know, don't say what other people say. This is a conversation I'm having with you, right?" Tom then continued to say, "I'm just telling you right now, just put your manners back in." And number 2, rant on set. I think we all had enough with the situation we were all put in following 2019. However, Tom really came across arrogant following a dispute he had with film crew staff that chose not to follow the rules. When an audio recording started to circulate on the internet, Tom furiously berated the crew of the Mission Impossible 7 set for failing to follow the rules, and we would all be left feeling shook when the actor went on to say, "If I see you do it again, you're effing done. We are the gold standard. They're back in Hollywood making films right now because of us, because they believe in us and what we're doing. We're creating thousands of jobs. I don't want to ever see it again. Ever." Fans then would become pretty divided over the outburst, as Tom went about the issue in such an aggressive tone and the use of language didn't sit well with any of us. While some agreed with his points, claiming that he was taking a stand for health and safety, there was definitely a better way of dealing with the situation. Number 1, hysterical antidote. Now, no one knows if this situation was less awkward or confrontational or simply just confusing. Tom made an appearance on David Letterman's late night show in the mid-90s. It would show the actor laughing for several minutes straight. The whole situation would start when Tom was trying to relate to Antidote about his latest movie. Tom began to crack up near the beginning of the interview and couldn't seem to stop laughing for the whole duration. Luckily for him, everyone around him also said it was funny, including David Letterman, who would also soon join his peers in laughter. However, the unexplained fit of near hysteria endures one of Cruz's most arrogant moments.
Number 10, Amanda Bynes. Amanda got her lucky break on the Nickelodeon sketch series All That. It was essentially just the Nickelodeon version of the late night sketch show Saturday Night Live. It sported a stellar cast including current SNL cast member Kenan Thompson, as well as Drake Bell and Lori Beth Denberg. Eventually, the producer decided to offer Amanda her own series, and her success only grew from there. The Amanda Bynes show became one of Nickelodeon's most watched series, and she was picked up by several studios to star in non-Nickelodeon projects like She's the Man, Easy A, and all that jazz. Amanda took a hiatus, however, in 2013 following a very public mental breakdown. In 2018, she told fans exactly what caused that breakdown. According to Amanda, she became addicted to the devil's lettuce at a very young age. And while it wasn't an addiction at first, with more roles came more pressure and a need to find a new way to cope. This eventually led her to more drastic substances. She also believed that she wasn't pretty enough anymore to be in films, even taking Adderall as a way to help her stay skinny. In 2013, Amanda posted a series of bizarre tweets where she seemed to be insulting almost everything and everyone that she could think of. Like, she called the former President Barack Obama's wife ugly, clearly referencing a character from the Amanda Bynes show, but still. She was arrested and placed under psychiatric hold as she was accused of several hit-and-run incidents as well, and was officially charged with reckless endangerment and criminal possession of herbs and spices. Her parents then placed her under a conservatorship until 2022, when she stood in front of a judge healthier and better than ever. So, happy ending to this one.
In at number 9, we've got Nick Cage. If you've spent more than one day on Earth, you know who Nick Cage is. He starred in roughly 115 movies, and some of his biggest ones include Ghost Rider, National Treasure, The Sorcerer's Apprentice, and his most recent movie, The End Season of the Witch. What some of you may not know is that in 2020, he was arrested for public intoxication, as well as disturbing the peace as he had a loud argument with his wife in public. He absolutely lost his cool and was even accused of SA in the heat of the moment. Thankfully though, he only spent a day or so in a holding cell and was released with an $1,100 bond.
8. Britney Spears. As many may know, Britney began a downward spiral health-wise in 2007. After her divorce from Kevin Federline, she not only shaved her head, but she went on a rage-fueled rampage across the city, taking down anyone in her path. After being swarmed by photographers at a gas station in LA, she went on a rampage wielding an umbrella and swinging it over and over at everybody's cars, attempting to smash their windows, and she actually ended up doing that to one person. She also hurled expletives at anyone and everyone with a camera, eventually launching that umbrella towards the crowd. This was the main incident that landed her in a psychiatric hold, and fun fact, that umbrella used in the incident was auctioned off for $7,000 online, and I can't wait for it to show up. All of my life savings were spent on that thing. There better be some glass on it still.
In at number 7, we have Nicole Polizzi, also known as Snooki. The Jersey Shore is a place of wonder, magic, and will make you your vacation choices. That is what a lot of people were asking themselves after being on a beach with Snooki. She was arrested for disorderly conduct after beachgoers complained that she was too bothersome. Now for some of you who don't know, the Jersey Shore star is notoriously loud and obnoxious, and the fact that she was intoxicated made the entire situation worse. Thankfully for her, the charges were later dropped, and she was left with a $500 fine and only 2 days of community service.
Number 6. Raven-Symoné. That's so Raven. That's something that people will be saying over the next few weeks, thanks to former That's So Raven star Raven-Symoné sharing with the world that she, in fact, gets mental images of past, present, and future events. On an episode of her and her wife's podcast, the best podcast ever, the hosts spun a wheel of conversation topics. The wheel landed on the word psychic, and the guest of the episode, Keke Palmer, said that she believed that they exist, but that she's not one of them at all. Well, Raven was on a show about it, so Symoné claims that she gets psychic visions randomly throughout her life, saying that she has an ability to tap into the psychic energy that surrounds everyone. But she also claimed to be able to do things that a lot of people claim to do, like walking into a room and being able to instantly read the vibe or the energy. Yep, she's an X-Man, get this lady some spandex. In fact, her own wife immediately called her out and claimed that she's seen The Matrix too many times. Maybe it was Neo, or maybe it was the several years spent on a sitcom in her early days, but this does make us wonder, what was the casting process for that show like? Hello, Miss Symoné, we'd like to offer you the— Why is she staring at the wall? She's perfect!
In at number 5, we have Christina Aguilera. Christina Aguilera is a famous singer-songwriter with an amazingly unique voice, and made her mark on the music world industry in the early 2000s, and made her mark on the Hollywood police as well. She and her boyfriend were taken into custody for being under the influence while driving. She was arrested as a public safety precaution, as she couldn't stand or remember her address. While she was not facing time, her boyfriend at the time almost did. He was let out on a $5,000 bail for intoxicated driving and had fishtailed out onto the road. Aguilera was kept in a holding cell until she was fully sober and could pass her sobriety test. Overall, it wasn't quite a meltdown, but for such a big star to get that drunk in public, there definitely had to be a meltdown in there somewhere.
Number 4. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay is a Disney star who actually never appeared in a sitcom or a TV show, and she actually got her start at the age of 3, starring in over 60 TV spots and commercials for brands like The Gap, Pizza Hut, and Jell-O. She got her big break when Disney casted her to play 2 roles in that classic film The Parent Trap, playing twin sisters Hallie Parker and Annie James, who randomly meet at a summer camp and discover their parents split them up when they were babies following a divorce. They hatch a plot and get mom and dad back together, and it's delightful. Her career only seemed to rise from there, starring in several cult classics like Freaky Friday with Jamie Lee Curtis and Mean Girls as Katie Heron. Unfortunately, her career took a step in the wrong direction when she was arrested in 2007 for driving under the influence of a controlled substance, for which she only served 84 minutes in jail. Yep, minutes. Yep, some people just spend years in jail for less, but Lindsay got a warning. The entire thing was documented by paparazzi and shared with the world, and up until 2022, her career was at an abrupt standstill. But she not only seems to be better mentally speaking, but she's under a new contract with the streaming giant Netflix to release a few rom-com flicks over the next few years, so maybe her and Adam Sandler will make a Netflix multiverse together. I don't know how I feel about that.
Following up with number 3, we have Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj is known to be a very straightforward person. She is very expressive and won't hold back if she's got an issue. This was taken to a whole other level, however. She and Mariah Carey were both American Idol hosts. After one audition, they happened to butt heads. Nicki had said that Mariah was too harsh on one of the contestants, and Mariah responded negatively to that comment, and Nicki pushed her chair backwards and said, "Maybe I just shouldn't be a host." After this incident, their feud was taken to an entirely new level. Multiple people overheard Nicki threaten to physically harm Mariah with a weapon. After this incident, the team at American Idol hired more security as Carey didn't feel safe in the workplace. As a retaliation to this, Minaj took to Twitter and said, "Ironically, there was no camera or mic that picked up the comment, lol. Not even the producers believed you." Overall, it caused quite the commotion.
Number 2, Tom Cruise. Now, it's one thing to be asking people to join your church all the time, whatever, no biggie, but Tom's behavior as a member of society has been very rough to say the least. Following the announcement that he was engaged to Katie Holmes in the early 2000s, Tom appeared on an episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show that has gone down in history as one of the most chaotic TV interviews of all time. From the moment that he walks on stage, he has such a strange energy. He's oddly excited, like he just got told the best news in his entire life. He throws his arms up in the air and then he rubs Oprah's shoulder like she's a lamp and he's trying to summon a genie. He revealed to the audience that the excitement was from his engagement to fellow actor Katie Holmes. Okay, awesome, but can you please stop trying to break Oprah Winfrey? Seriously, Tom jumped on her couch, he grabbed her hands over and over again. She couldn't even get to the questions that she had for him because he was just too chaotic. Eventually, Oprah was like, whatever, bring the wife out, and the cameras followed Tom as he ran around the studio trying to find her. It looked like a scene from Paranormal Activity. Tom's energy continued to stay at that level of chaos throughout his entire marriage to Katie, and since the divorce, he's just nuts. He's just nuts now.
And last, but definitely not least, we have Demi Lovato. As most people know, Demi Lovato is known for sharing her opinions about the way the world functions and about how it affects her personally. She was also known to be on drugs. This time, she made a big stink about a frozen yogurt place called The Big Chill, having zero sugar and non-fat options at the front of the store. She complained that they were trying to promote dieting, which doesn't make much sense, because nearly 95% of the population think that frozen yogurt is a healthier alternative to ice cream. So why would she be complaining about what a lot of society considers diet ice cream? To be promoting sugar-free foods as well as diet foods. She was upset because they were displayed at the front of the store. She posted on her Instagram story that they shouldn't be promoting diet culture, especially not at the very front of the store. She finished her story by saying, "Do better." The company responded to this and they said that they were at the very front so that people who have dietary restrictions wouldn't have to search or feel embarrassed about asking an employee for where a better option was. They also said that it's been like this for the last 36 years and they enjoy catering to their customers' needs. This somehow made the situation worse when Demi went on a tangent about how they should provide a more inviting environment for people with eating disorders. She also compared eating disorders to overdosing, which is also wrong in so many ways. She finished the message by saying, "Don't make excuses, just do better." This caused an insane amount of backlash towards the former pop star, and she even refused to follow up with comments about her meltdown. She even made a public apology for trying to drag down a small business and stated that it wasn't her intention. After this, many people came out saying how much respect they had lost for Demi and how they couldn't stand her actions. They were receiving second-hand embarrassment from her posts. Many of her followers claimed she should be ashamed of herself and said that she should get a better mindset if she considered sugar-free cookies enabling an eating disorder. After a lot of her fans, as well as the general public, sided with The Big Chill, she publicly apologized for her actions, saying she doesn't always get things right and just wanted to speak her mind. In the end, the entire thing could have been avoided if she wasn't so woke about sugar-free cookies.
Number 10. Tom Cruise. Tom is an interesting fella. There is absolutely no denying that. In his youth, he was one of Hollywood's go-to leading men, but his career and skills as an actor have slowly been going down for a long time. There are a ton of Tom Cruise moments to choose from where we could pinpoint his rage, but today we're going to talk about something that happened on the set of one of his last Mission Impossible movies. An audio clip was released of Tom yelling at several crew members with pure rage in his voice. The crew were accused of not following safety protocols that were in place at the time, being 2020, the masks and the 6 feet please. In his rant, Tom is heard swearing and screaming about the rules and how that if he wants something to happen, that it was going to happen. The rant went viral, but Cruise defended the rant rather than apologizing for it, claiming that he said what he said and that the stakes were pretty high at the time. While this may have happened at a time when Hollywood was shut down and a lot of productions were on hold, that's not an excuse to harass the people trying to make you look good. Number 9. Christian Bale. Christian is a very versatile actor, physically and skilled. He's able to shrink and grow his body seemingly at will, and he's played everything from a skinny substance addict to Batman. In 2008, Christian starred in the 3rd film of the Terminator franchise, Terminator Salvation. While he was filming a scene, director of photography Shane Hurlbut apparently moved into Christian's line of sight. This caused Christian to snap out of character and into defense mode. There is now just an infamous audio clip of Christian yelling at Shane floating out there in the world, and to make matters worse, anyone who tried to calm Christian down were met with an equally swift verbal lashing. While the cinematographer was just checking a light to make sure that it was in the right place, you know, doing his job, Bale made it his mission to share his intense feelings with the entire crew. When the audio leaked, he apologized for his actions and told the world to praise the crew for their incredible work. While the movie turned out okay visually speaking, the project as a whole is remembered as one of the worst Terminator movies ever made. Number 8. Nicolas Cage. The most unhinged man in Hollywood history, one of the few people who somehow managed to star in billions of movies but has barely seen or kept a cent of it. During a press junket in 1990, Nick went on a talk show called Wogan to discuss his latest project, Wild at Heart. When the host Terry Wogan announced Cage, he entered with karate kicks, a front flip somersault, and he threw wads of cash at the audience because he was Nick Cage, man! He finally sat down, and moments before the interview truly began, Nick asked if he could just take his jacket off, you know, get cozy. Well, he took it off, and the shirt underneath of it. If people thought that Nick was still all together, they were proven very wrong during this interview. Despite the content being relatively tame, the entire time you can see the sweat just glistening off of Nick's chest. Cause hey, guess what? Wearing a leather jacket on your bare chest is beyond uncomfortable. Sure, it might look cool until you take it off and you're just covered in a heat rash. Nick's always been a bit of a Looney Tune, but his behavior in the 1990s was peak wacko and well documented thanks to him literally being in like 12 movies at least every year. Number 7. Amanda Bynes. Amanda got her start on All That, the Nickelodeon version of Saturday Night Live. It had a stellar cast including Kenan Thompson, Drake Bell, and other people, and eventually the producer decided to offer Amanda her own series, The Amanda Bynes Show. It became one of Nickelodeon's most watched shows to date, and as she got older she was picked up by several studios to star in non-Nickelodeon projects like She's the Man and Easy A. However, Amanda took a hiatus in 2013 following a very public mental breakdown. According to Amanda, she became addicted to the devil's lettuce at a very young age, and while it wasn't an addiction at first, with more movie roles came more pressure and a need to find a new way to cope. This eventually led her to more drastic substances. In 2013, Amanda posted a series of bizarre tweets where she seemed to be insulting basically everyone that she could think of, and eventually she was arrested and placed under a psychiatric hold. She was accused of several hit-and-run incidents and was officially charged with reckless endangerment and criminal possession of herbs and spices. Her parents then placed her under a conservatorship until 2022. Number 6. Mel Gibson. The leading man of famous films like Braveheart and the original Mad Max movie, Mel Gibson has had a pretty steady career, thanks to him also being the director of many of his films, including Braveheart. In 2006, a DUI cost him a few years off his career. According to Mel, he had been under the influence of no-no juice at the time and was just plain angry. He was pulled over because he shouldn't be in a car in that state, and he was recorded via body cam shouting anti-Semitic rants at the officers, saying things that I'm not going to repeat and that you should not Google. Following his arrest, he apologized for the harsh words, but the damage had already been done, aka the press already knew. He was thrown on the bench for a while, but as we all know, he still makes movies to this day. In fact, in recent years, he has placed a lot of the blame on the officers for illegally filming him. Gee, what's worse, a DUI or camcorder footage? Number 5. Michael Richards. Michael is best known for his character Cosmo Kramer on the legendary sitcom Seinfeld, but these days you might know him for his racist tirade at the Laugh Factory in Los Angeles. In 2006, Michael was filmed dropping some very harsh comments in front of a crowd of people who just wanted to hear some jokes from Kramer. Instead, they heard Cosmo shout the N-word over and over again at a man in the crowd. He also made some pretty interesting remarks that I'm not going to repeat online or ever. The video went viral, being broadcasted on news networks across the country. Michael apologized for his actions, claiming that he was heckled by someone and that it sent him off. Throughout the tirade, many of the audience members weren't sure if he was trying to be funny or if they were his genuine thoughts, but by the end of it, it was pretty obvious that it was unscripted and uncalled for. Number 4. Steve-O. Steve was once a world-famous stuntman whose journey to sobriety is honestly inspirational. Unfortunately, in his early days of fame, Steve was known for having a sweet tooth for illegal substances. This made him an excellent guest on late-night talk shows. Host of On Too Late, Adam Carolla found out the hard way that you should never encourage Steve-O to do anything before getting on camera. During one late-night appearance in the mid-2000s, Steve is definitely on a few things. The host suggests that he's had a few adult beverages in preparation for the game, but his speech is so slurred beyond comprehension other than the B word being hurled at the audience over and over again. You know, the one that rhymes with snitch. He then begins to tell the host that he loves him, but that he will end his life right there. He then sloppily hugs Adam before trying to flip his chair with him inside of it. His issue with substances was very well documented throughout the years, but this late night appearance will always live rent-free in my skull. Thankfully, as I mentioned earlier, he did win his battle with substance and is currently 15 years sober, now spending most of his time running a podcast with Adam. I have a lot of respect for this dude. He went from, I'm Steve-O, and this is a scorpion pit, and now he's like, and now let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Audible. Number 3. Britney Spears. Britney began her downward spiral in 2007 after her divorce from Kevin Federline. She not only shaved her head, but she went on a rage-fueled rampage across the city, taking down anyone in her path. After being swarmed by photographers at a gas station in LA, she grabbed an umbrella and just swung it over and over again, and especially at one of the cars, attempting to smash its window. She also hurled just so many swear words at basically anyone and everyone with a camera, eventually launching her umbrella towards the crowd. This was the main incident that landed her in a psychiatric hold. Surprise, surprise! She was placed under conservatorship, which she was eventually released from, but she's been making headlines again recently for some very odd behavior on TikTok, but we'll leave that for another list. Number 2. Ye West. Kanye was slowly going mad in the eyes of the public way back in 2010. As the years went by, he made more and more appearances on TV, but it wasn't until 2018 where his political beliefs got him heated on Jimmy Kimmel Live. When Jimmy asked Kanye how he felt about the response to his decree that he was all for the president at the time, Donald Trump, he defended his statements by claiming that he didn't have to conform to some united mindset and that he was a little bit upset at all the backlash, but that a part of him kinda liked the hate. He then suggested that the world was in a simulation and claimed that we were just all unpaid actors. For basically 20 minutes, he just went off about metaphors, the concept of love, and he compared himself to the Son of God. This interview was only a short time after his anti-Semitic tweets were circulating the internet. Ye even made a joke about the anxiety of asking his publicist to appear on the show. He was fairly calm in his delivery of his opinions, but he made sure that his opinions were known. Number 1. Charlie Sheen. Charlie rose to fame in the early 80s after starring in a slew of cult classics like Red Dawn, The Boy Next Door, and Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and a little brief but memorable cameo. He fell into the mainstream, however, in 2003 when he started playing the character Charlie Harper in the sitcom 2.5 Men. So good that even just mentioning it got the theme song stuck in your head. However, in 2009, he was arrested for attempting to harm his wife Brooke Mueller on several occasions. At the time of the arrest, both parties had been indulging in adult beverages, with Sheen becoming enraged beyond control. Following this, a restraining order was placed, prohibiting Sheen from being within 100 feet of both Brooke and their children. Despite all the controversy, Charlie was later seen doing press for an upcoming movie on The Today Show when the interviewer asked Charlie what was behind his sudden behavior, claiming that he was being perceived as angry and erratic. But Sheen responded with, "Oh, no, I'm just passionate, okay? I'm a passionate man," before launching into a no-snow-fueled tirade. He claimed his brain functioned within a separate realm to ours, and Charlie's interview was defensive to say the least, with his energy just being weird and aggressive the entire time. Even since then, Charlie has maintained this weird air of arrogance, like he's still got his head jammed right up his backside. He still thinks he's the king of TV and winning, when in reality, this is probably the first time you've heard about him in a while.
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Justin Bieber. So although Hailey Bieber isn't exactly a normal person, she has lived a lifetime in the limelight thanks to her uber famous talented family members such as Stephen Baldwin and Alec Baldwin. Still, with coming from such a talented family, it makes you wonder why Hailey herself isn't really that talented. But with saying that, did you know at one point in time Hailey was actually once a believer, just like the rest of us, as she was constantly tweeting about how much she loved Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez and how they were such a perfect couple. And she was even briefly introduced to Justin by her father Stephen in 2009. And there has also been photos of Hailey waiting in line as Justin took photos with his fans outside of a New York City hotel in 2012. By 2018, just 6 months after Justin Bieber broke up with Selena, he would then tie the knot with Hailey, but apparently their relationship isn't the strongest, and we may see the couple divorce shortly. Number 9, Jennifer Lawrence. After Jennifer Lawrence and art dealer Cook Maroney were introduced by a mutual friend, Laura Simpson, it wouldn't be long until things quickly escalated and things between them started to get a little more serious. As just a few months following their first date, US Weekly would confirm that the duo were engaged after the Hunger Games star was spotted wearing a large diamond ring. 4 months later, US would then confirm that the two had tied the knot in a small ceremony in Rhode Island. Although Jennifer has always preferred to keep her relationship private, it has been stated that before Cook even met Jennifer, he was actually a really big fan of the X-Men actor, and he was even completely smitten about her since he met her. When the two did finally tie the knot, their guest list would include everyone from Adele to Kris Jenner. And in February 2022, Jennifer even gave birth to the couple's first child. They're thriving. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in at number 8, we have Liam Payne. When Liam Payne met fan Maya Henry at a meet and greet, he had no idea that he was also going to meet his future girlfriend and fiance. Liam first met Maya at a One Direction meet and greet back in 2015, but they didn't get along until a few years later. The couple then went public with their relationship in 2019, and Liam would then propose to Maya in August of 2020. Of course, not all relationships last, not even engagement, so as of 2021, the couple would call off their engagement. Now the split only lasted for a short time, as both Liam and Maya got back together just to split again in May of 2022. And then by April of 2022, the couple would confirm that they tried their hardest to make the relationship work, and although they shared some wonderful memories together, they were calling it quits for good. Number 7, Patrick Dempsey. Patrick Dempsey became an instant heartthrob after he landed the role of Derek McDreamy in the series Grey's Anatomy. But thankfully for the actor, his love life hasn't been as complicated or dramatic as it appears on the show. Stepping away from the spotlight, the actor has never been happier, having met his wife Gillian Fink in 1994 when Patrick walked into Fink's Los Angeles hair salon for an appointment. What began as an occasional haircut and banter quickly developed into a relationship, and in 1997, the two quickly fell in love and decided to get married just 2 years later in 1999. Today the couple is still stronger than ever as they have 3 children, but they did go through a little bit of a rough patch as they did have a brief divorce scare in 2015. Luckily, they were able to work through their differences and stay together, as they are honestly a really cute couple, and they showed us that things can be patched up as long as you work with your partner and you're willing to work with them. Your relationship is meant to be. Number 6, Prince William. Prince William once revealed that prior to meeting the love of his life, Kate Middleton, he once went into her dorm room one time and noticed that she had posters of the young prince hung all over the college dorm wall. Turns out that Kate is a huge fan of the royal family before she even entered into it. it, and she even had a major crush on William. One of Kate's old dorm mates outed the Princess of Wales for having a big fat beady crush on her future husband back in the day. Now these stories did naturally make their way back to Kate, and she went on to officially deny them during her first interview as a future royal. But her roommate Nicole then went on to explain in the book that Kate even joined the other Will superfans on campus trying to sneak peek at the royal when his school visited Kate's school for various events. When the couple did get together, they went on to get married in 2011, and now they share 3 children together. Number 5, Ariana Grande. When Ariana finally got married to Dalton Gomez, fans would become extremely emotional over the singer's private wedding, as not only was Dalton her real estate agent at one point, but he was also a giant fan of the singer, and their relationship story is actually pretty sweet. For a long time, both Ariana and Dalton have had a pretty private love life, even despite the fact that they have been pictured in public together for years now. The two first met when he was helping Ariana find a home, and then later on Ariana would make her move and ask the real estate agent out, and they soon started to get very serious as they spent all of 2019 together. Even when they announced their relationship, they would do it in such a unique way, as she showed their relationship in the song Stuck With You that she collaborated on with Justin Bieber. At the end of the video, Ariana and Dalton can be seen dancing together, hugging, kissing in the bedroom, and it was pretty huge for the couple as this was their first sign of an official relationship status. Number 4, Steve Harvey. If you don't believe in love at first sight and that it can happen, ask Steve Harvey about how he met Marjorie Bridges. So it turns out that Steve actually met Marjorie in 1990 when she walked in late to a stand-up comedy set Harvey was performing at. Later on in an interview, Marjorie would recount the time that she walked in late on Steve's now cancelled talk show, and then he stopped abruptly. Everything went quiet and it caused everyone in the room to look at her. Steve then decided to make a sweet gesture that she would remember for a lifetime when he said, "I don't know who this is, but I'm gonna marry her." While the connection was immediate, they ultimately went their separate ways just a few weeks of dating as Steve disappeared on her as he just wasn't in a good place financially, and he was very focused on his career at a time. A decade later, the two then reconnected after Steve's bodyguard told him that he only saw him happy with her, and before he went to do something stupid like marry another woman, he was calling Marjorie for him, and now the two are happily married. Number 3, Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage was married to Alice Kim from 2004 to 2016, and when the couple first met, she was actually working as a waitress in Los Angeles. At the time, Kim was only 19 years old, meaning she's actually 20 years younger than Cage. Just after the pair got married, in just a few short years, they would eventually split because Alice's mom even once told the couple that Alice was too young for Cage, so Cage knew that there was going to be problems if he stayed with Alice. Shortly after Alice got with Nicolas, her career in acting actually started to take off as she appeared in the movie Next, which also featured Nicolas, as he starred as a Las Vegas magician who can see into the future as he is pursued by the FBI agents seeking to use his abilities to prevent a nuclear attack. With the couple splitting in 2016, it would be the longest relationship Nicolas has ever been in, and the two even ended on a good note as Alice was even pictured taking part of his celebration at his latest wedding back in 2021. Number 2, George Clooney. Just 3 years before she started dating George Clooney, not only did Sarah Larson win an episode on NBC series Fear Factor, but she was also a really big fan of George, and she even started hanging out with George when he celebrated his birthday at the Las Vegas resort that she had worked at. And then they reconnected at the premiere of Ocean's 13 in 2007, but when George abruptly left the former cocktail waitress, she would be left feeling shocked, heartbroken, and even moved back to Las Vegas. At one point, Sarah even thought her and George would get married, and when she actually ended up getting dumped, she found herself teary-eyed, packing her bags and walking out the door of the couple's home they shared together in Los Angeles. To add more insult to the injury, the month George broke up with her was the month Harper's Bazaar would feature Larson posed on a motorcycle with the headline saying, "It girl Sarah Larson, don't hate her because she's beautiful, fearless, and dates George Clooney." And in this magazine, she would gush about her love for the star. And coming in number 1 today, we have Matthew Lewis. Matthew Lewis is known for his role in the Harry Potter franchise as he plays Neville Longbottom, and he married one of his biggest fans, Angela Jones, in 2018. And in A String of Fate, the franchise also plays a huge key role in his romance with Angela. According to TMZ, the pair first met at an event for the Wizarding World of Harry Potter in January of 2016, when Angela was an event planner at Universal Studios in Orlando. From there, it seems like they hit things off right away. As Angela once detailed in her lifestyle blog, Sunshine stated to me that her whole world would be turned upside down the day she met Matthew, as she never believed in a soulmate until they met. And with the two coming from different countries, they were still one of the same. Later that year, Matthew would then pop the question in Paris, and from there the rest was history. And leave it to Neville to create such a magical love story.
In at number 10, Heard blamed for poop in their bed. One of the strangest and most baffling things about this case is the fact that someone pooped in Johnny and Amber's bed, and most signs point to Amber. Apparently after he and Heard had a fight, he decided to leave for the night and come back in the morning when he assumed that she was not going to be there. However, before he made it back, his maid texted him that there was poop found on his side of the bed, with the maid even including a picture. Johnny then texted Amber about the mess, and she tried to blame it on their dogs. Depp stated that their dogs were way too small to produce something that large. Heard kept denying that she had anything to do with it, but Depp is convinced it either came from her or one of her friends. In at number 9, disappointed about weight comment. This is one of the many times that Johnny Depp has poked fun at his situation with Amber Heard. While Depp was on the stand and being questioned by one of Heard's lawyers, the lawyers were trying to establish that since Depp is larger than Heard, it would be easy for him to get physical with her. The lawyer then asked Johnny Depp, quote, "Now, you're a lot bigger than Amber Heard, correct? Physically." Depp nonchalantly replied, quote, "I wouldn't say that." When you see this testimony lined up with Amber Heard's expressions at that time, you can see that she did not take that comment very well, and clearly Amber took it as an insult. In at number 8, confessed to hitting Depp. Even though Amber is trying to make it seem like she was not the aggressor in her altercations with Johnny, in court we heard clear audio recordings where we saw Amber confess to hitting Depp during a fight. From the audio, it seemed like in that instance Amber was the aggressor and Depp was only using self-defense against her. She is quoted saying, quote, "I didn't punch you, by the way. I'm sorry that I didn't hit you across the face in a proper slap. I was hitting you, I was not punching you. You're not punched." Depp then meekly replied, quote, "Don't tell me what it feels like to be punched." This recording is responsible for many people switching sides in this case and believing Johnny Depp over Amber. In at number 7, Dorman testimony. One of the most talked about people during this trial has been witness Alejandro Romero. During his pre-recorded testimony, he broke the law multiple times, shocking the jury and getting a chuckle out of Johnny Depp. After the video cut, the judge was lost for words, saying it was a quote, "first." Romero was the doorman at the apartment where Amber and Johnny lived, and he came to their home to check on Heard when she believed an intruder was breaking into her home. However, he believed it was just a dog scratching at the bottom of her door. Romero looked frustrated throughout the questioning, saying on multiple occasions that he just wants to be done with this trial forever. I mean, don't we all? At one point, Romero even started driving while still talking to the lawyers. To make things even funnier, he vaped while driving and speaking to the judge, clearly showing just how little he cares about being there to testify in this case. Immediately after his testimony started going viral, with Romero even gaining over 20,000 followers on social media. And at number 6, my dog stepped on a bee. One of the most viral moments in court was when Amber was describing a time that her and Johnny got in a physical fight. Then out of nowhere, she just says, quote, "My dog stepped on a bee," and then winces, like she's trying to force herself to cry, but couldn't. And of course the internet went wild with that comment, and it quickly became a viral TikTok audio sound. Some users are even adding more onto this sound, continuing it by saying, quote, "My dad has to pee. I forgot my house key. My child spilt my tea." It's hard not to laugh, to be honest. The internet is labeling this yet another time that Amber Heard was a terrible actress. Halfway at number 5, lawyers asked inappropriate questions. Of course it's a lawyer's job to get down to the truth, so it's not out of the question to assume some uncomfortable questions will be asked. At one point, Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were living in Australia while Depp was filming a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and Amber alleged that Depp tried to urinate in the foyer of their house. Depp's bodyguard Malcolm Connolly was on the stand, and during cross-examination, Heard's team asked him if he witnessed Depp urinating in the foyer of their residence at the time. Connolly confirmed he heard noises inside the home, and that when he entered, he saw Depp in the foyer. When pushed again to answer, the bodyguard said no, prompting those in the courtroom to laugh, including Depp. The lawyer continued, quote, "Mr. Depp had his penis out, didn't he?" before being interrupted by an objection. The bodyguard denied it and claimed he would have remembered if he saw it. Depp tried to contain his laughter. And at number 4, Milani Cosmetics contradicts Amber's lawyer. Obviously this trial is insane, but I believe there's never been a time before where a makeup company came out to contradict what was said in court. During her trial, Amber's lawyer stated that Amber would walk around with makeup constantly in case she ever needed to cover a bruise that Johnny had given her. In court, the lawyer held out Milani Cosmetics all-in-one correcting kit while telling the jury how Heard concealed alleged bruises on her face, although it's important the lawyer never claimed that Heard used that specific product. Milani then clapped back in a TikTok video showing that the product held up in court was not released until 2017, 1 year after Heard filed for divorce. So there is no way Heard could have been covering bruises with that makeup. Heard's team responded by backtracking and saying that they never said it was specifically that product used. And at number 3, Kate Moss questioning. Last week while Heard was testifying, she was recalling an incident where Johnny allegedly got physical with her sister Whitney, and during the testimony she brought up model Kate Moss, to which Depp's team celebrated. Kate Moss and Depp used to date decades ago when they were both very young, and Heard alleged that Johnny also got physical with Moss while they were together, specifically claiming that he pushed Moss down a flight of stairs. In court, Heard said about her sister's altercation with Johnny in 2015, quote, "She threw herself in the line of fire. She was trying to get Johnny to stop. Her back was to the staircase and Johnny swings at her. I don't hesitate and wait. I instantly think of Kate Moss and stairs." Court footage then shows Depp's lawyers quietly celebrating after hearing Moss's name. We can assume that the court did not allow evidence or testimony from Moss to be allowed, but now that Heard has opened the door to that altercation, Moss may be asked to testify. Since Johnny clearly does not agree this altercation with Moss happened, Depp's team believes it will once again prove Amber's lies. And at number 2, a lawyer objects to own question. Easily the most embarrassing moment from one of Heard's lawyers was when he objected to his own question. Attorney Adam Nadelhoff made a strange error while he was asking questions about a fight that left Johnny with a severed finger. While the lawyer was questioning Ben King, Depp's house manager, he asked, quote, "You didn't know what could cause damage to Mr. Depp's hand while you were there on March 8th. Correct?" the lawyer asked. King then answered the question by stating a doctor told him that Depp sustained an injury to one of his fingers. Then, in an attempt to stop King from continuing his testimony, the lawyer objected, saying, quote, objection, hearsay? For a moment, everyone was kinda confused until the judge stated, quote, "Wait, you asked the question. Next question." Awkward. And finally, number 1, can't add. Being a lawyer has little to do with mathematics, but you'd assume a group of people that educated would be able to do simple math, right? Well, you'd be wrong. One of the funniest moments captured was not actually during the trial, it was to do with pre-trial details to be sorted out. The judge was on the stand telling each side how much time that they will have in court, stating that once they do go over time, she will stop them regardless of the line of questioning. At one point, she breaks down the exact hours and minutes that each side still has in court, and for some reason Amber Heard's lawyers kind of object and make it seem like the math does not add up. The judge then breaks down the math and asks the lawyer if she got a different number. After a very awkward silence, someone comes in and lets the judge know that their math adds up. The caption on the clip read, quote, "Judge Penny Ascart has the patience of an actual saint. Amber Heard's legal team failing to do basic math."
Starting off our list at number 10 today, we have Beyonce and Jay-Z. Back in January of 2015, Beyonce and Jay-Z had anything but a quiet sushi night as the megastar couple was captured getting into it at Sushi Park Restaurant in Los Angeles. In released photos, Beyonce could be seen yelling at her husband. And later, OK Magazine would then speculate that the altercation happened because Jay-Z's non-stop cell phone use during dinner. However, like many mysteries and the fact that the couple usually tends to keep their private life, pretty private, no one can say for sure what the two may have been arguing about. However, this wouldn't be the couple's first public fight since back in 2014, the couple had an infamous elevator incident that first brought potential difficulties in their relationship to light, and both have explored marital conflict in their albums 444 and Lemonade respectively. But it seems like all is well now as they continue to gush about each other in interviews, and back in 2017, Jay-Z also said he was really proud of the art Beyonce was releasing, and he also noted that she was amazing. Coming in number 9, Emma Roberts and Evan Peters. Just before Emma Roberts and Evan Peters split for good, the American Horror Story co-stars in 2013 were caught on camera while they had a pretty serious physical fight. While it may have seemed at the time that the two were actually a perfect couple in Hollywood, it was anything but perfect. When the two stars started to make headlines after they had a pretty public fight in Montreal, the New York Daily News would then report that the Montreal police had to attend to the scene after people called in a domestic situation. When the police showed up to the couple's hotel room, they would find Evan with a handful of injuries, which included a bloody nose and a bite mark. The police then opted to arrest Emma on the scene even after Evan chose not to file charges against her. Although Emma was released, the paparazzi would then capture her breaking down when she learned the news had reached the media. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming in number 8, Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth. When Miley Cyrus and Liam Hemsworth posed at the LA premiere of The Avengers Endgame in 2019, their red carpet smiles didn't last too long, as the two widely displayed their different styles and tensions between them were pretty palpable. When Miley couldn't stop talking about how she wanted to let her hair down and have a crazy fun night out, Liam was there to support his brother Chris and was hoping to have a fairly chilled evening. And it appears neither of them would end up leaving the red carpet happy at the end of the night, as Miley, did Miley, as she was seen vamping it up for photographers, and her Aussie actor hubby at the time grew increasingly uncomfortable, resulting in the famous duo getting into their first major fight as a married couple. And you could even see Liam at one point on the red carpet telling Miley to behave. After the two then walked off the red carpet, Liam would then angrily accuse Miley of turning the premiere into the Miley show, and once the couple got home, a source would then reveal that they got into a big fat argument. And then jump to the day, Miley wrote a song called Flowers that highlights their relationship and how it was never perfect. And it's been #1 on the billboards for the last 3 weeks, and she even took a jab at Liam in the music video by wearing the suit he wore that night on the red carpet. At #7 we have Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck. Before Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck decided to go their separate ways, the world was pretty shocked to learn that their marriage was anything but perfect. While there were plenty of rumors in 2015 that suggested Ben had been unfaithful in their marriage with the family's former nanny, after the couple returned home from vacation, a fight would break out shortly after, and this is when they dropped their 3 children off at school. Onlookers would then tell In Touch that Jennifer and Ben were in their SUV when things started to get a little out of hand. They even started to claim that there was lots of gesturing through it all, and the photos and videos captured, you could see Jennifer crying. This is when people started to believe that Ben was making it clear that their marriage was over and that he was going forward with the divorce. #6, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt. At one point in time, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt were Hollywood's it couple, and you couldn't turn around without seeing them mentioned somewhere in the street. But it seems like after the couple filed for divorce and went their separate ways, they have been hitting headlines for some pretty serious accusations. Before the couple ultimately decided to part ways, they would be spotted at Legoland in Windsor, and they would be spotted coming off this ride with their children, and the couple could be seen getting into a pretty serious argument where Brad would be shown touching Angelina's arm before she pulled away and decided to shout in the actor's face while they were in public. The people who captured the photos then said they saw the couple again later, and they looked like they were still arguing sometime later. #5, Channing Tatum and Jenna Darwin. While it seems to be a trend of couples meeting on the set of movies and getting together and becoming couples, Channing Tatum and Jenna Darwin were no exception, as the pair started dating shortly after they worked together on the iconic dance movie Step Up. Although it looked like things were going extremely well for the pair, they would show the world that there were signs that things were off for months before they announced their divorce. Jenna would even open up about the couple's last months together in their relationship in her book. This is when she would claim that the two were only hurting each other by staying together. Also leading up to the couple's divorce, the couple were often seen sharing words out in public before heading out and getting snapped by the media in several photos. And after the public arguments, it would seem like Jenna would rather look at her cell phone than talk to Channing. #4, Blueface and Krishan Rock. Lately it seems like Blueface and his girlfriend Krishan keep making headlines for all the wrong reasons. If you've been online for the past few months, then you probably have seen the viral videos and tweets of the rappers going viral with the rise of the couple's reality show Crazy in Love. However, while some users view the relationship as entertaining, I think we can collectively agree that their relationship is pretty toxic, as we have seen the two enter into some pretty concerning altercations. The problem with the two is not only that the relationship is dangerous, but it's also harmful for the immediate parties around them. While it seems like Krishan is the main reason behind the couple's toxic relationship, she would go into an interview to come out to address the public's concern about her relationship by saying, "We're just here learning, figuring things out. We met each other how we met each other, but that's it." However, now that Krishan has announced her pregnancy with Blueface, things are only going to get more messy going forward, and that's what is the most concerning part for their fans watching. #3, Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman. Like any couple, it's no secret that Keith Urban and Nicole Kidman have endured their fair share of issues used throughout their relationship. After all, Keith has used some of their disagreements as inspiration for his songs. While the couple often tends to keep their disagreements away from the media, back in 2016 when Nicole was captured giving her husband a look that no husband wants to see, the internet would go into a frenzy while they try to figure out what happened. The confrontation would happen when they were at a movie premiere. Insiders will then tell the Daily Mail that things took a turn when Keith got upset over the couple's very busy schedules as they had spent the year apart. Apparently, Keith wanted to return to Australia to be with their family, but Nicole on the other hand was just really sick of Keith sulking about them being apart, and she just wanted him to be with her and support her career. Number 2. Rihanna and Chris Brown. Back in the day, Rihanna and Chris Brown had a relationship that made us all raise our eyebrows. Eventually, during their relationship, after headlines started to show that Chris got into a physical altercation with Rihanna, he would eventually be arrested and charged, and eventually the stars would also call off their relationship. Just before, the couple was at a pre-Grammy party when they started arguing in a car. Later, Rihanna would then open up about the altercation in an interview with Diane Sawyer. There, she would claim that their altercation started after Rihanna saw a text from a girl on Chris's phone. Rihanna then said that she knew he was lying and that he knew he had nowhere to turn. However, Rihanna would then go on to note that there had been warning signs that something bad was going to happen long before the incident. Apparently, the more the couple fell in love, the more they both started to realize how dangerous they were for another. Today, Rihanna has used her experience to help other young women going through similar situations. Number 1. Mia Goth and Shia LaBeouf. Just before Mia Goth and Shia LaBeouf decided to split, they had quite a habit of getting caught on camera having these really public fights. Just before the two started dating, Shia actually met and fell in love with Mia Goth on a set of their movie, and eventually they decided to walk down the aisle. While the couple has now gone on their separate ways, they were involved in some pretty high profile and public fights while they were in Germany. In a viral video in 2015, the two could be seen screaming at each other. The footage in that video would then show Shia walking away from the scene and getting into a car as he explains that he didn't want to hurt Mia. Then a source would confirm that apparently when Mia tried to talk to Shia again, he would then respond to Mia by saying he was being pushed and he didn't want to be aggressive.